Hey, what up? Philip Martin coming to you live here from beautiful Austin, Texas. Today I want to talk to you about being a closer. I've closed over $1 million for myself and my clients. I feel like you have to say that, you know? You gotta say that, let people know what the hell is up, right? So, I was doing some calls today, and I had a guy that got on the call and said, I want to buy. Now, why didn't he buy? You know, this is the central question. This is the central thesis of all of closing. So why didn't they buy? That is a $1 billion question, literally. And here's what I've come to find out after doing, depends on what you call a sale or a negotiation, man, it well into the hundreds, if not 1,000 of attempts at getting someone to do something. That's what you're doing in any capacity, insofar as terms of sales, closing, decision-making, facilitation, influencing, anything of that nature. Your entire life depends on being able to understand why people do what they do and why they didn't do what they do. You're gonna have different reasons for that. And the reason I say it's so important is because if you have no power and control over your life, you're just gonna feel powerless, and it's just gonna be miserable for you and everybody around you. So in order to prevent that, you're gonna wanna know how to influence people properly, not in the wrong way. And it's insane because oftentimes it's not that what you want is like so ridiculous. How many times you asked somebody for something that you felt was completely reasonable and you didn't get it? Why is that? Why did that happen? You didn't do it properly. That's the you control everything answer. The you understanding that you don't control everything answer is you can only do so much, because that is true. It's the same thing with anything in life. It doesn't matter how good you are at whatever it is that you're doing, there's gonna be a certain percentage of things not going your way. Not only is that just life, but I mean, it's just a universal law. I don't know what to tell you. You're not gonna win every single thing you ever do, particularly even in sales, right? And if you've ever done jiu-jitsu or you've ever done anything in sports, you want to look at it as practice. And that's how I look at it in terms of doing 4 to 8 calls per day. That's kind of my favorite thing to do, is have my first window of 4 hours to do 4 calls per day. And then I like to have a solid hour or 2 or even 3 break in between there, so that my brain can come back refreshed and super ready to engage creatively and engage presently. And eventually where you're gonna get is to where these calls should bring you presence, right? These calls bring me presence. Every call you do should be an opportunity for you to get outside of yourself and to actually quit thinking about yourself for once and actually think about another human being and what they might be wanting, needing, thinking, feeling, all these different things. Because if you don't, and it's all about you, that's never gonna work. And a lot of people know that logically, but you might not truly understand that in the moment. You have to make yourself aware of it in the moment in order for you to be able to do that. Because what does that even mean? Literally, what does that even mean? It means you actually have to be aware in the moment of the fact that there's another human being outside of yourself who has the needs and wants of their own. And this is where you basically need to be like a library of human psychology. I would highly recommend just studying some, go read 10 human evolutionary psychology books, and that'll give you a clue as to why people do what they do. If you do that shit, And then you'll actually understand that you can observe what people are doing while they're doing it and start to notice patterns in people. And these are things like, for example, patterns of behavior. Probably heard of red flags. You want to look out for somebody's red flags in dating. But in business, there's also red flags. And that can be Machiavellianism, that can be being too reckless, it can be any number of things, but the point is you want to have an actual criteria and an actual understanding really for everything you do. If you can actually do that, then you'll actually know when you are or know when you're not winning. And you can actually know if you did everything that you needed to do. Because if you don't do that, you're never really going to know if you're winning. And there's nothing more frustrating than taking a ton of action and feeling like you're not winning because you didn't define winning for yourself. So what does that mean? That means how many calls are you doing per day? How many people are you talking to? How far are they getting into the call? And part of the reason for all of this is because everything that I just said pertains to exactly this. This is the exact reason as to why you need to know any of this, is because the sooner you can disqualify people, the less time you can waste. If you're set for a 45-minute call and you can find out in the first 15 minutes that they're not ready, willing, or able to buy, maybe end that call. Unless you're just straight building brand for like yourself, for people I close for, I'm not doing 45-minute calls with people that aren't qualified. And that one skill is going to exponentially change what you're capable of doing on any given day. But it's going to prevent you from getting fooled. How many calls have you done where you get all the way to the end of the call? And I'll give you a great example. This happened to me the other day. I was on a call with a guy who says he's a real estate agent in New York. He's got a degree. He's got like big goals. He's like motivated. Like he knows what he wants to accomplish and he knows what he wants to do. But so we get 9, like I bring this guy like the brink of tears, right? This is self-help industry niche. It's a self-help offer. I bring this guy to like the brink of tears. We get 9 yeses out of the guy. And then it comes time to make a decision. He didn't do it. Why didn't he do it? Did I do something wrong? Did I not do my part properly? No, I did. Not everything you do, even if you do it perfectly, is going to work every single time. It's not going to happen. People lie to you all the time, especially on these calls. And I really feel like the self-help industry is it's like a real like proving ground for closing. Because you're just dealing with people's super crazy emotions. Like you're literally dealing with people that get on the phone and they're like, I struggle with taking action. And these are the people that you're talking to all day, trying to get them to take massive action and make a commitment and make a decision and take an action. So, that's one aspect of it. Now, part of this, and this is a massive part of closing, is if people aren't doing their branding properly, the people that you want to close for aren't doing their branding properly, it's not gonna work. This is where I spend a lot of my time thinking. Now that I have my guide, right? Now that I have my invaluable save a month of your life closer guide, I avoid this now, but I find out up front rather, but you need to know how they're doing their branding and marketing. If you don't, you're just going to get dragged into a bunch of gigs that aren't going to actually be good, and the audience is... You ever tried closing a cold traffic funnel? Oh my God, because as a closer, what's super important to you? How warm are the leads? Big question, right? I don't know. I can't think of a reason you would not want to have super warm leads in any closing. I don't know why you would ever want to do that. So the warmer the leads, the better. And of course everybody has warm leads. everybody has warm leads. Everybody's going to crush it and make $1 billion. And of course, almost nobody does. And the beautiful thing about me having my own businesses first prior to this is I know what it takes in marketing to induce that in somebody. You're not going to just induce that in somebody based on cold traffic, okay? Because I would get people on my calls in both funnels, the only 2 funnels I've ever done, technically 3, but we'll go with the 2. The day trading coaching brand funnel, and the land contract, the land flipping funnel that I did. And in both scenarios, I did the messaging with the product market fit so properly that by the time they showed up to the calls, they're basically just like, okay, yeah, maybe they have like a question or 2, but they're bought in and they're pretty much showing up to the call just being like, how can I give you money? That's what you really want. I had several calls like that in my day trading coaching brand because I educated my audience so properly. Literally the objections that I get the objections you get on the calls are the ones that you make content out of. And then that's how I learned this in real estate too, long time ago. It's called the 7-touch process. And of course it applies to all businesses, but the more touch points and the longer they're exposed to you, the higher their buying temperature, the warmer the lead. Warm leads. Warm leads. Say it with me. Warm leads. All right. So, I mean, unless you just hate yourself, I don't know why you don't want to do warm leads. So what I really like about the self-help thing that I'm doing is, yeah, like the target audience is tough, but the leads are warm. This is a cult, right? Basically, I'm basically selling for a cult-like brand, which is great. That's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be selling for cold traffic. I've done both, and it is super different because now, like, basically the people that don't close in the self-help thing are people that can't overcome themselves, right? They've been following I talked to a guy the other day, he'd been following for 13 years, and this is like the first time he had thought about like making a purchase. He had been following for 13 years, and he thought about, it was his first time thinking about buying a product. Do you know how insane that is? And I told him, I straight up said it to his face. I'm like, so you're telling me it took you 13 years to think about making a decision to make a purchase? I was like, bro, that should alarm you. That should alarm you. It takes you 13 years to do something that, by your own words and definition, are telling me that you need to do. This is your idea, right? Like, these people are getting on the phone, I'm getting on the phone, and they're telling me they need to do it. And then I don't talk myself out of it. You gotta stay on it. You gotta understand where the buying temperature is as soon as you get on the call. You have to understand the buying temperature as soon as you get on the call. If you don't do that, you're absolutely screwed. That's possibly, I mean, again, that's top 5 biggest like underrated skills in closing, is you literally are talking yourself out of sales because you can't tell where somebody's buying temperature is when they go get on the phone with you. So what you really want to be able to do is actually gauge right then and there, and you want to have a process ready to where if they're super ready to buy as soon as they get on the call, you need to recognize that as soon as possible and then be able to just go right into the close and then just handle objections from there if they still want to throw resistance at you, even though they just got on the call and told you they wanted to do it, which happens often, like surprisingly often. This will happen. And all I'd really say is that's okay, you know, because, and this is a super subliminal thing that's hard not to do if you're not just in the flow of being a closer. If you're not just in the flow of being a closer, it's going to seem too easy and you're going to feel like you're taking advantage of the person and you're just going to be incongruent and out of alignment in some way, and it can lose you the call. And for me, closing is a very cerebral thing. I'm very tapped into my body, my nervous system when I'm doing these things. Why is that? It's because of the oomph. If you ain't got the oomph in what you're saying, it doesn't matter what you're saying. Okay? So there's something about it. I've tested this thousands of times, and there's something about where you say something the right way. And anybody in sales knows exactly what I'm talking about when what you're doing is being able to say something exactly the right way, and it just works. And it truly is something that's like super subconscious, because like you don't really know why. This is the best definition and answer that I've been able to give for this, is the oomph. Because I don't know why. There's not one, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's working. It just works. Okay, you're in the flow. Yeah, but I can be in the flow and not be closing people. I can't be in the oomph and have the oomph and not close people if I'm saying the right things at the right times. The oomph, I guess you would say, is a combination of saying the right thing in the right way, but it's more than that. Like there's something more to it than just saying the right thing in the right way. It's a cerebral, it's something in your nervous system. It is something in my nervous system. And I don't mean just like the way that I feel. I'm not just saying like, oh, I close better when I feel good. No, like there's something in my literal nervous system being that allows me to be able to get across to somebody in a way that I wouldn't otherwise be able to. And the closest word I can think of it would be like assuming the sale, like assuming the close, right? Like assuming the close, like assume the close, like, okay, I'm going to assume the close. Like, what does that even mean? Other than, I would say unconsciously moving forward. That's actually what I would call it. If you wanted to call like assuming, what is assuming? I would say assuming is like unconsciously just moving forward or subconsciously moving forward using the fundamentals you have ingrained in your being. Like when you drive, it could be argued that you're assuming the car is going to work. You're assuming nobody's going to run into you. You don't know that. Yeah, it's a law and it's like bad if somebody does, but it happens every single day and people do it. So your assumption could be wrong. So you are assuming that you're not going to die when you get in your car. So it could be said that you could just assume the close. Like there's no reason not to, right? Like think about that. Assuming, and think about that too. Assuming gives you the courage to get in a deathmobile, fly across the road at 60, 70 miles an hour with nothing separating you but two yellow lines on the ground. What is that? Is there a way? And you think nothing of it. You think absolutely